Yeah, that happens a few times when my kids are in swimming lessons. They got new people all around the edge. By the end of it.
That's fine. It's outside. It's outside. Don't put the shoes outside.
Okay.
Yep. I read it.
Okay. Yeah, we got back to you. As far as with the kids now, probably not at this point. Yeah, we don't usually. Yeah. Okay, good.
What's up?
Hello. How are you?
I think the weather's nice. Hello.
Lou, before we start, did you want Peter here for the generator talks or?
I don't think it's necessary.
I just hung up with him because I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out what all they're trying to do, and he doesn't think it makes sense either.
So, hey, Ash, we're all on ready data. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And my feeling is let's give them data that may
All right.
end up in capital.
Thanks for everybody coming in. Seeing it's 5 o'clock, we'll open up the meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Tonight's agenda, we have Parks and Rec in to talk about some lighting up on the softball field. Then we'll be going over some CIP discussion. Dee Daly, Joe Wardworth, and Nicole Talbot. And we'll be holding a series of non-publics in regards to hiring for different positions with the town. That's great. We got, what, 4 or 5 applicants?
2,
5?
3, 4, 5, 6.
6 applicants.
I added one.
Alright.
That's not on the agenda.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
It's good news. And we'll have some fun in roundtable at about 8:30. Maybe get out of here by midnight.
Yeah, roundtable's not going to happen at 8. Well, because then we get to discuss the
Yeah,
candidates.
no, I know.
And
That's why I said midnight.
Yeah.
So with that, Mindy, Josh,
Did you give them the?
I did.
Okay. About the first thing? About baseball? What we
Yeah.
talked about?
Oh, the food thing?
Yeah. That email. Oh, I sent that ahead of time.
I thought it was in that. I
Yeah,
printed
it
it when
was-
I printed this.
Yeah, it is in the packet. I think I put it in the middle of it, unfortunately.
Okay.
Before we went to get into the lights thing, just really quick, I've been talking with Justin Cormier, and they had mentioned how since they stopped using the cafe and started using the barn, like the bay, that they've tripled sales with food. And so I know when they put the building in, it was no food, and even I was like, no, we don't want it, we don't want food all over the field. But I think that it was something that was set by the select board, and so I was coming on behalf of kind of baseball, I guess, but also for Parks and Rec to amend that rule that they can't use the bay to do sales, because why would we hinder them if their sales have gone up that much and made that big of an impact just by having it on the field, by the field? People are just walking over to buy stuff instead of having to walk across the fields. If we can amend that to at least allow them, and then to put something in there to also have the food taken off and the grill removed from the field for the season, that, outside of baseball season. But I just thought it would be a good thing to do for them, and where I'm not sure what we're doing with a cafe, if we end up even having a cafe again, I don't know.
and I think if memory serves me, the intent was to not have multiple locations with food storage and
Yep.
all that going on.
Right.
And whereas we're not using the cafe, it seems like a fine idea, to make that change. Do you remember that the same way?
Yeah,
Like,
I do, yeah,
yeah.
it was, the whole purpose was that if we had a cafe that baseball donated before, then why would you put another one in? Now that we're seeing the sales that Justin was talking about, and there's lines literally, like if you drive by at night and watch a game, there's a line waiting for food. And I just think that's a good opportunity to like let them kind of succeed on that. And why, I mean, it's got, putting a new building in for us for a new cafe, if it's not a donated product, it could cost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. You know, in some facet of wherever it ends up. So that's not something that we can do right now anyway. Or
Is there any thought of making it more permanent, like Jaffrey Legion Field?
yeah, well, when I talked to Wade Ojala briefly, it was just a brief conversation. I was letting him know that I was going to talk to tonight, and he said and I know that in the original plans there was some sort of build off of that area to put in a more permanent structure, and I told him that's between you and them if they choose to follow through with a new plan or a change of plan, or if that's something you guys would consider doing. That's I think kind of outside of my perimeter. I think I should be the one to ask to have it amended, since I also agreed that we shouldn't have food everywhere. It becomes a problem really fast, which we found out unfortunately this year, which was the demise of the cafe.
Would you have any questions or concerns with making those amendments and
Not at all.
asking for the grill equipment to come off at the end of the season?
Do we have the original agreement, or?
It's in there.
I saw the minutes, I didn't see an agreement.
That's the only thing that I had. If they had a formal agreement, it probably got lost in,
Because the minutes from April 12th, 2016 are in there, and it just says, Selectman Wage noted a line had been added to the agreement stated the completed project will be used to store the equipment of the contractor. Food storage is not permitted. The agreement was signed by the board,
there was no agreement attached to
but I didn't
minutes.
see any, see
Yeah.
any.
So there is a formal agreement, but I looked through, and I went through 2 years worth of minutes to see if I could find anything, and there was nothing there.
I didn't see anything in the computer either for an agreement with baseball. Can we ask
Yeah.
them if they have the agreement and then maybe amend that, like officially,
Yeah.
I think that
and
would
have
be
it signed
a good way to do
have
it.
it signed.
Just go to the
If
original.
they don't have it though, that's my only concern, because again, we've had I think it was Border Town when this started, and then they've changed over a few times.
Like, it would have been Nick and then Steve and then,
Doug was involved
yeah,
at
but
the
I don't know
time.
if paperwork kinda like went to him or not.
Who was after Doug?
Steve.
Yeah,
Was it Steven?
Any paperwork that they have, Steve's gonna have.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I can check with him and see.
We should have a copy here. I would
Yeah,
think.
I would think, well,
Contract file.
we would think.
Yeah, I
So
can check
that,
with Steven and
what
see
that building was donated by the Little League? the
Mr.
wooden-
Martell, yeah, before we took it out, I actually spoke with Mike, Mr. Martell, and, had him, went down, looked at it, he was thinking about seeing if he could have it moved to his property, back since he donated it.
Oh, you're talking the All-Star Cafe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about the,
Oh,
the
that
I
I
don't know what
have
you call
no
that.
idea what the plan would be for that, for them, because when they they're on their original proposal, I don't remember much.
This is what I was asking, the structure where you stand and do the announcements, and
Yeah,
was that donated by the Little League, or?
yeah,
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Weather warning.
yeah, it was a, big group effort,
Mm.
there's probably 20 or 30 different people down there building it, and,
Yeah.
Massachusetts 911 is down
again,
for the
It's
whole
back.
state.
Or
Oh, it's
unless
back, is that what they're saying?
It
It's
was,
back
or
now?
it said it was restored a little while ago.
Oh,
Vermont
I see.
went down to.
really? What the heck is going on?
Scary.
Sketchy. Conspiracy theory.
Alright, so if you want, I
Anyway,
can talk
sorry.
to, I know,
Yeah, so I don't think, you
I
know,
can talk to
there's
Steven.
no issues
Okay.
from us right now about
No, I
that
have no
going on.
objections.
Yeah, so then we'll just look to get the right paperwork and get it all formalized, correctly.
Yeah.
And Steve, who?
Falter.
Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't sure. For original agreement. Okay.
Alright.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
So we've succeeded in fundraising for the lights. We're looking to move forward with that project. About 2 weeks ago, I went to the last zoning board meeting to go through the process of getting it approved, much as baseball had done last year. They are of the opinion that because it's a town department installing on town land, it's not covered by the zoning ordinance, and therefore isn't within their purview. So they said that you would be the ones to give permission to install the lights on the field at this point. The plan we've put together as of right now is the exact same thing that baseball did, 40-foot poles, 4 poles, placed around the field. We've done the lighting study. There's no impact off the property, or limited impact, I should say. I think it's just over 2-foot candles at the property line of the nearest abutter, and I think it's 1.5 or little over 1 foot candle at their front door. So limited impact to the surrounding area. It's not going to be any more used any longer than baseball is using. Definitely not as long as the basketball lights already are on.
And I did turn the tennis lights back on. I wanted to see if having them on would impact or would cause any type of issue. So I did have the tennis, and the kids have been using it, so I did have the tennis lights turned back on to see how lights are over that way would impact that area of the neighborhood. And we haven't had any complaints of any kind, and they're on until 10, like basketball.
And those aren't dialed in like the softball lights are gonna be dialed in like
No.
down to the field.
They're
Yeah.
big, ugly, pointing straight out.
Yeah.
I don't think they're actually,
Yeah.
we need to probably update those too. And you guys have the light study in that packet. You have Josh's filing, the variant filing to the ZBA. You have 3 proposals for light installation. We have the donation letter for the posts and setting of the posts. I think that was, the only thing I didn't get, were the draft minutes of the ZBA that you talked to Danielle and said.
Mhm. Yeah, so I did, I called and spoke with Danielle just to kind of get some more context on like what happened at the meeting. And it was exactly like how you had stated it. But I feel that if we stay within the same guidelines as what baseball did, that it should be fine.
The one change I'd like to evaluate is instead of putting a second pole right next to it, we'd like to look at potentially taking one of the baseball poles out, replacing it with a 50-foot pole, and hanging their lights at 40 and ours at the top, the shadows off of it, just to limit how many poles are down
Basically for an aesthetic reason, not having a pole next to a pole. So we just remove one of them and replace one to put both lights on. I think it makes more sense to do
there. With the
that.
elevation change, we need a taller pole,
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah,
installed over
the
there.
zoning board had, they were looking at originally to put in some 50-foot poles, and they did have some problems with the zoning board about doing that. And
Yeah.
that's why they were restricted to 40-foot.
Right.
So
So
if
we
you're
can-
going to be changing one of those, I don't know if that needs to go back to the zoning board, or if we can override that.
We'd still put their lights at 40 foot, so the lights wouldn't
Right.
change elevation, it would just be the pole would go further up.
Yeah, the thing was about the aesthetics of having one larger pole.
Well, technically, if we were to put the pole there, it would, because of the elevation of the softball field, the pole would almost look taller than their pole anyway, because it is significantly higher than where their pole is. So if we were to put, not necessarily 10 feet difference, but there's a good maybe 6, 7 feet
Yeah.
easily between where their pole is and where ours would be. And it would, in my opinion, I think it would be cleaner looking if we put a 50-foot instead of a 40-foot at their elevation and then a 40-foot at our elevation. You know what I mean? And instead, just put one post that's at 50 feet, because that's how they come. We're not gonna cut, a 47-foot one in.
So then that 50-foot pole
So
effectively
50-foot
would
pole,
be
that- the
40 to
last-
them and 40 to us because,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
Right.
That would be the only reason for doing that, would be to keep it, again, cleaner. We're gonna be taking the posts down for the batting cages to clean it up a bit more with all the posts, and we're looking to doing a better, more
As well as
user-friendly.
The 2 posts on the right field side of softball, which one has the cameras on it and one I don't even know why it's there. We'll take those down too.
mm-hmm.
So the whole point is to, like, if we're gonna put them in, is to clean it up too, to make it look better. We're not just gonna throw some lights in it, you know?
The other comment that Danielle had made to me as well was that the baseball's application was not contested in any way by any of the abutters. So there wasn't any one neighbor that came to speak on it.
Is that something that we should consider, you think, or?
It's kind of like a yes or no, but hearing that, makes me lean towards the no side to things. Cause we haven't had any complaints about the lights being on at all. So, the way that these LEDs are designed are to minimize how much seeps out.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. And if we stay within the same guidelines,
Has there been any, looking at how much it's cost to run these lights?
Actually, and it was kind of a good thing that baseball went in first, because we do have to think about rec budget. And so the first month I got a little nervous because it was like a half a month, it was an $85 bill. I was like, ooh. I mean, in the big picture it doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up when you are used to getting, like a $20, $40 bill. And then the next month, this past month, I think it was like $54 or $55.
Really?
Yeah, for the whole month. So a half a month, it probably included like the original setting it, turning it, checking everything. And then the second month ended up being $55. So that to me, that's a minimal impact compared to,
Yeah, of
What
course,
was
there's
that
more
for?
daylight in the second month as well, so.
yeah, right. And yeah,
But
yeah.
we're still,
They're still on though.
yeah,
Yeah, because they don't turn them on in the middle of the game, they turn them on at the beginning of the game, so that way they're not turning lights on during a game as a distraction. At least that's what I've noticed when I've been at the fields when the games are going on.
but the cost is pretty minimal.
Very minimal, yeah. It's really,
Yeah.
I could adjust my budget to fit lights in the budget.
well, I'd imagine that could be paid through the revolving, like as it's, cause of the kids' fees, right?
And it's worth noting too, baseball's got more teams having home games on that field than softball does. We only have 4 teams this year,
Yeah.
3 of which would probably be the only ones using the lights, so.
Although I do like the idea of hosting middle school or high school games once we get some other things legal for their age group. I'd love to see some high school and middle school games under the lights up there.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Instead of having to go, huck it up. We don't have any lights around here for softball. We have to go to Concord for night games. So it'd be awesome to have that people might wanna rent the field. I mean, it could pay for itself, we don't, it's an opportunity maybe.
Yeah. I don't think I got the Grace Electric. Like, which proposal were you looking to go?
Grace is the one that I think we decided would be smartest.
Do you have a different one?
Yeah, Grace was,
Grace.
Grace Electric was used for the,
I have the
For the
two from
previous sentence.
statewide. Okay.
Oh, here's the statewide, yeah.
Thank you. Alright, now it makes a little more sense. 'Cause I saw the total dollar amount, I'm like, wait a second here, the statewides are still higher.
I don't know why theirs was so much higher.
Yeah,
He was trying to come in back in, he called me and he was trying to get something a little bit more in that. He just couldn't for the life of him figure out how they had gotten such a low bid.
mhm.
So, but he did call and he was gonna send in another one, I just don't know if he ended up being able to get something closer.
Well, so his hometown guy trying to,
I know, and I thought it was cool, it was nice to get the opportunity to meet him formally.
Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus is right.
Yep.
Yeah, he does, he's been doing work for us at the field, and I'm never there.
yeah, and they installed the baseball lights, so they're familiar with all the equipment that was
Right.
there and what was spec'd for it, so it sounds like a pretty good scenario. What was the time frame that you were looking to? Don't look at me like that.
As soon as
Is it
possible.
like tomorrow?
You know me.
As soon as you guys say yeah.
She's already got it scheduled. Oh, I can't say that out loud?
I did hold off just because this is more of Josh's area of expertise is if he's had the relationship with everybody. I've just been doing what everybody's like asked me, like, can you do this or get that, and that's all I've been doing. So it's been a huge, it's a huge, not a huge group, there's a handful of you guys have been working on this for a year and hustling to raise over $50,000.
It's amazing.
It's
I
insane.
just wanna applaud that.
I know, right?
I know.
That's amazing.
And to bring in another almost 13,000 donation for installation of the posts and the donation of the posts themselves.
Absolutely
It's
amazing.
crazy how much work got put into this,
Mhm.
and I don't know.
And the people who poured into it, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so
Do we
true.
need a motion on it, or?
Yeah, so I'm working on making some notes.
Yeah.
So it'll be a few weeks, they haven't ordered the poles, they were holding off to order the poles until they got the okay, so it'll be a few weeks before we install anyway.
Yeah, and please let Shane know, thank you for his donation too. It's just amazing how everybody came out just to support this and get the project done. That was almost $13,000.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was even a little bit conservative too.
Yeah. We
Where are you
also,
seeing that?
It's a donation letter.
Oh,
we had another donation as well, that was sent in, and I did formal letters specific to those two people. And we had some money left over that we're gonna be able to possibly put in the dugout as well. That is much needed for the softball field.
So we're planning to get couple of plaques for Shane and,
Oh,
Andrew.
nice.
And,
put on the light poles,
Yeah.
specifically for the company.
yeah.
Excellent. Lou, do you have any other questions or comments for these guys?
not to me.
Make a motion to approve the lighting plan for the softball field at Memorial Park and to change one of the 40-foot poles to a 50-foot pole from the baseball lighting array to accommodate the softball field lights, as well as the baseball lights at the approved, ZBA approved height.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Do we wanna accept the bid? Or
What's that?
do we wanna accept the bid? or-
Celebration's allowed.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a motion to accept the lighting bid from Grace Electric in the sum of $44,000 for that softball field lighting project. There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Congratulations, you guys. Yay.
Send
I know,
something,
right?
send something actually sorry on that one.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
did take a lot of the discussion out of it with your legwork.
Did we make it too easy for you?
No,
That's okay, I'm okay with it.
Oh, yeah, thank you for like putting this all this together and
Yeah.
Perfect.
making
That
it
really
easy.
awesome, thank
Yeah.
you.
That's how I get it done. Yeah, 'cause
Well, it's the least I could do with all the work that got put into this, was make sure it was, you guys had everything you needed to make the decision.
yeah, 'cause there's really hundreds of donations and
Yeah.
businesses and families and
Yep.
yeah, it was excellent work by all.
Yeah, have a little celebration in the middle of the field maybe after all the work, yeah.
And is it cool to put this whole thing with the minutes?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that was inappropriate.
One thing that I didn't quite understand was this, like I got page 3 and 4
Oh,
of the April 6th zoning, but it
She-
doesn't,
it
She
was
did that.
specific, yeah, it was
Me.
super
I don't
specific to the lights, that's all. For the original approval for the baseball.
yeah, I just didn't see it anywhere
Oh,
on here.
oh, is it maybe the part, no, I don't know why. I purposely only did the part where it had baseball on
Or maybe not?
it. Maybe not. Maybe I was keeping you guys on your toes.
I don't even have that.
Yeah, so I think you can omit
it's the last
this,
page.
cause it has no context. Oh, you don't have this one?
No.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
Alright,
So what are you looking for?
I guess I'm the only one that has it.
No, I put it in.
And I didn't print my own copy.
I was gonna say.
Sean just randomly printed up pages.
Oh, I don't even know, is that mine, with mine?
Yeah,
Or is that for the food portion of the discussion?
no, that
No,
sounds like it
that's
has two
CBA
different
minutes.
properties, yeah, two different,
So, yeah, cause I remember seeing the
I saw
ZBA
a
minutes,
ZBA,
but I
but
don't
it
have it in
didn't
my
have-
packet.
And it didn't have a back on it either. The,
It's an old legal thing, you keep burying with paperwork.
Right.
All that cool stuff.
no, seriously.
So should I add it or no?
Well, apparently not, cause I don't even know where it is. I don't even have it on mine. Which doesn't say much because, oh wait, there we go. I thought it was just the first page.
It's two-sided.
Well, I just wanna make sure we're not missing something.
It starts with number 1. I mean, number 2.
yeah.
So I wonder if this was to do with the lighting.
Yeah, that checklist 2 to 5 is part of the lights minutes.
Yeah, it looks
Missed
like
the-
it might be.
The first.
Well, no, this, I don't know. This talks about having underground facilities, how it's gonna increase the town's tax base.
Oh. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, it must be a different
Yeah,
page.
I would
Printed
say
the
that's-
wrong page.
No, I was gonna say that definitely wasn't what I was supposed to.
Okay.
Anyway. Throw it away.
Easy.
I'm curious what was on the other page.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks to all who, contributed to that and did all the work.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. Oh, nice. Park's coming along.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, mini Fenways.
Good
See ya, have a good night.
night, you guys.
Alright. 5:30 brings us
Boom.
to planning
Look at
board and
that.
CIP. And since Joe's in the front seat, what do you got for us, Joe?
I have everything.
So, part of our goal for this evening was to give you guys an overview of where the ClearGov process is, and to get some clarity around the direction that the select board would like us to go, so that we can proceed once without having to double guess ourselves along the way. So the document that I sent, really, it has an overview of the master plan and the CIP and what they're for. I think you guys are, as a group, are pretty familiar with that. I would like to use the same document with the department heads. So any feedback along the way when we get kind of towards the end about what feedback you think the department heads would like or not like. But this process isn't new, but we are looking to make it reproducible, transparent. I think there's a number of things, and consistent and usable. So to do that and to keep it going, we would like to kind of lead from the top, if you would. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that first page, but the second page talks about the definition of capital improvement. So when we look at a capital project, if we just use the word capital project, we look at things that are have a long life. They may be a large non-recurring cost. They may use special financing. They may include real property acquisition or development, or construction of a building or other infrastructure. So generally, when we look at this, historically we have used a lifespan of at least 3 years and a $5,000 price tag, and it has to be equipment or, again, that sustainable, usable type of product. The CIP also covers, supposedly, Messinic Regional School District, but I have never known, outside of potentially some roofing or school equipment stuff, that there has even been a project sheet submitted for Messinic. So I don't know if that's done through the school board. I know they have a capital reserve fund, but I don't know who triggers that. I'm assuming since the school board is quasi-judicial, they may feel that this is covered on their own. I don't know if you guys have any input on that, but we've not really seen a whole lot from the school.
We'll
There was
worry
some
about
historical
ourselves.
things, but
Yeah.
Yeah, you were about yourself.
so, all right, so going forward, Joe and the finance
Advisory.
thank you, I always mess up the A, the Finance Advisory Committee started to put together a document about what does this mean, what's included and what's not included in capital improvements. He did a real nice job pulling together what the criteria would be, what the examples are of capital expenses, and what wouldn't be eligible. So that there's a real clear definition and we can start to act on that. So one of the things that I'm going to use it as an example, because I think it could be productive, is either tires for the fire truck or a pumper test. Let's say the pumper needed a pressure test. I'm making this up, I don't know if pumpers get pressure tests. Well, let's pretend they do. And it's going to cost $8,000. That would be a maintenance cost, not necessarily a capital improvement. It's still a capital expense because it's over $5,000, but it wouldn't be an improvement, it would be more of a maintenance function. So there's a difference between improving the town's building capacity or equipment capacity and potentially doing something that's more maintenance related. And you would budget totally differently. So one would be targeted to the budget, whereas a new fire truck would go into the capital reserve funds. So what this has revealed is that we use the term capital pretty loosely, and we don't really differentiate capital improvement from capital reserves or capital funds or capital expenses. So if it's capital, it would be $5,000 or more, it's a piece of equipment or some sustainable thing. But capital improvement tends to be you're expanding what's available you're expanding the town's resources and infrastructure. So if we were going to put an addition on this building, it could be considered a capital improvement. Potentially, if we're just replacing one door, and it was a really expensive pretty front door, it wouldn't necessarily be an improvement unless you could say it was aesthetic, which we haven't accounted for aesthetics at all in this definition. Okay? Does the difference and the distinction potentially make sense?
So one's budget, one's capital reserve.
Not
money.
necessarily, so,
That's where I was
Capital
having
reserve
that.
would be a replacement of something.
okay, well, I think the key here, and this is a great example, the building maintenance reserve fund
Uh-huh,
is a capital fund, but
uh-huh.
it is targeted for maintenance,
Maintenance.
ongoing maintenance, it is
Right.
not improvements,
Correct.
technically,
Right,
okay?
Mm.
As opposed to, let's expand building 3, that would be a potential improvement, because you're now adding to the town's capacity and the services that the people
right,
would receive.
right.
So I think the distinction here is we tend to think, and historically, we have said the CIP will have all expenses over $5,000. And I'm fine with that, but I think we have to remember that if that's the way you wanna go, that we're including capital maintenance as well as capital improvement.
So should this be like anything to do with maintenance or?
That's what I'm,
That's what I'm asking.
I didn't think it ever
So-
had. I mean, like, you gotta plan for it, but usually that, like, the building maintenance capital reserve, that's for building maintenance. So if you wanted your front door or you want, but it's not the capital improvement plan.
That's why I'm
They're
asking,
separate.
that's exactly why we're here.
So think about, if you have to re-roof the building, that should be a capital item, it lasts much more than 3 years, 5 years, 20 years. And it's not something you wanna put in an annual budget. You don't wanna put
Right.
$100,000 into an annual budget,
Right.
so you capitalize that, you plan for it, you put it in the capital budget.
Right,
If you're gonna do, today even painting, paint's gonna last more than 3 years, you could call that capital. So those are maintenance items that are gonna easily exceed $5,000 and you plan for it. There's other maintenance like, cleaning the carpets, you'll be doing that every year, twice a year maybe even,
That needs
that's
to be
not
done.
capitalized. Even if it was $10,000, you're gonna do it more than once every 3 years, you can't capitalize that, so. Things like carpet that would, you would carpet the whole building maybe, and it would be $10,000 or $15,000, then you'd wanna capitalize that, and that would come out of the revolving, capital fund.
So historically, in theory, all of the capital expenses, in theory, would go into the CIP. In reality, I don't think that's what's happening. So, one of the reasons that I wanted to have this conversation was, if we're going to do, you could say, well, let's put the building maintenance in there because we need a plan. So the good news about the CIP is you're gonna have a plan, right? So if we say, okay, we need to consider all the windows are good for 25 years and the roofs are good for 30 years, you could start to mock up what does a routine maintenance schedule look like, and you could have a plan that the town could follow. So you could put that under the CIP so that you could actually check, there is a plan, and it's not like, well, okay, the building's falling down, now we need to replace the roof, right? So you could do that, and I think that's why historically the CIP had things like roofs and the sill for the old town hall. Those things were in the CIP. But
which they should be, because they're major expenses. It's not anything over 5,000, that's just the threshold where you need to get quotes, right? But
Well, no,
anything,
it's two different, like it's not
that's
just.
what I'm saying,
Yeah,
it's
so
two
we
separate,
could pick different dollar amounts to, like what we'd like it to reflect. So 5,000 has been that number, it's like the golden number, like one of the golden numbers around here, it's like 5,000 should
set
trigger
from-
this, that, the other, yeah.
Set from pre-inflation days.
yeah.
Oh, I'm serious.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I
true.
talked with
It is
Peter
true.
about
Point.
getting prices for different things around town, and it's like, whew,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
not like it was 10 years ago even.
mm-mm.
Yeah. Anyways.
And you're right, $5,000 been around for more than 10 years. So, but it's in your control to say, do you wanna bump that to $10,000? And I'm not saying you have to make a single policy across the whole town either. You could say, DPW has a threshold of $10,000. There's not, you're allowed to make up all these rules of how you wanna handle it, how you wanna plan for it.
And it's like something that we've been doing because it's been done before, like one of those last items, like on the list, and probably up for, some new thought, like fresh numbers on, but
I feel like capital and, may I, is it okay?
Yeah.
I feel like capital improvement is the stuff you need to save for. Like it's gonna cost $100,000 for a roof, so you need to save for that. So that should be in the capital improvement plan. That way we know how much we need to put in that warrant article for building maintenance fund, or a fire truck, or a police cruiser, or other big items that are that you're not gonna put $50,000 in the budget to fix the roof. You know what I mean? Like things, so that would be capital improvement. The smaller stuff like replacing a door or painting or that kind of stuff, I feel like could be budget items that you would put in the general building maintenance line items in the budget. That's how I always looked at capital.
Well, which some of those examples fit for our community, but say Nashua, they could have a $250,000 roof in their
Oh, yeah.
general maintenance
Yeah.
budget. You know, like that could happen,
Right.
like for their community. Just our numbers are all different.
Yeah.
The way, you know, the things
I'm
that
not,
we've
I'm
done.
just talking
The
about
way that
us.
money goes through.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about us. I'm not talking about
And
anybody else.
I think having the building maintenance capital fund to be used, able to be utilized to replace a front door,
Right,
it has its benefits.
right.
It gives more flexibility, but
And
at
all
the
of-
same time, it is what's our withdrawals from that on a non-big year? 10,000? I mean, that kind of number.
There's some
you know,
years
something
that
like
there is
that.
none.
Yeah,
There's some years that there's none.
It could be
But
put
there,
into the budget. Just raise the budget on the building maintenance
Yeah.
annually and do away with.
so there's a couple benefits and limitations depending on which way you wanna go. I don't think that there's a clear path and we will go whichever way you want. But if we look at, if we say, okay, anything over $5,000 or $10,000 needs to go into the capital planning, it means that you will be setting priorities, you will pull anything that isn't specific to budgets, maintenance, or some other things. You would then be looking at those potentially as a bolt-on to your budget, right? You've got what it takes to run the town, and then all these other things that are gonna have to be prioritized, right? In any given year of how we're gonna do them. As opposed to if we just do capital improvement, where it means that there has to be expanded capacity to be in the CIP, then it'll be more the things that are derivative directly from the master plan that potentially we don't have yet. Like expanded soccer fields or a community center, like it would probably be more that
kind
way.
of stuff.
And I guess the question I have is, how are we doing on planning? We have new department heads, we have new team leaders, and I'm not sure how planning wise we tend to go. I know from working with the CIP for several iterations now, over 4 to 6 years, people aren't real good at planning. They'll put a placeholder page in and we'll have a placeholder page, but then it never gets developed. And then eventually it becomes a crisis and then the town has to spend money, but nobody knew what the money was coming, what was coming before you until it was there. So I can go either way on it, but I wanna be clear as we go forward, because one of the options is you could say anything more than $5,000, it needs to have a planning worksheet before it goes in your budget. Cause you need to be thinking ahead. On behalf of the town, you have to think ahead. Some people might say, whoa, Nelly, that might be a little too much. I can go either way. Joe, I don't know if you got any other insights.
So in my impression, we don't do a great job planning. Mindy did a great job. They've been working this for a year, coming up with the lights. That should have been part of the master plan. They should have come in, we should have talked about it, say this is what we wanna do, build a plan around it, go through, and then it would have been a simple, we're deciding we're gonna do it by fundraising, and then give it the okay. That would have been a great example of a longer
Planning
term
ahead.
plan, planning, exactly, yeah. And we kind of did it ad hoc, and it worked out well, but they did a lot of work without, I'm sure it was a ton of planning to get to where they got, but really without us being involved in any planning process. So, the revolving funds seem to work okay. Obviously, we need to emphasize a little bit more on some of these bigger projects that maybe we're neglecting. The master plan is for the real big projects. I don't think the master plan should be looking at $5,000 items. I think that's way too detailed for that. So
That's fine with me.
maybe you pick 3 areas, say there's operating budget, there's revolving funds, of which building maintenance is included within the revolving fund, and we don't do any maintenance items at all in the master plan. And then the master plan is a much bigger picture, much higher level, something like that. I think the vehicles still need to be in the master plan, because it just takes years to build up enough money for the fire trucks and DPW vehicles. I mean, the police cars are expensive as well, but
Mhm.
And it's okay to take a look
And
at
fire
the
trucks.
funds and maybe take a look at what the funds are relative for, and we say these are the types of things that are gonna go into the CIP, and we clearly just demarc
Yeah.
based on the types of funds they are. We could do that as well. And let me kind of continue for a minute, let you guys percolate and give you another thing to think about. We have the option, the folks that at ClearGov have said, hey, we need a year of your budget and your expenses.
Yeah, the budget versus actual.
To load the system so that you can do modeling, right? So if this is our budget and these are the things that are in the hopper for the next year or 3 years, what would that look like overall? So we can do modeling. Now,
They wanted to go back like 4 years.
Ideally,
The
they said they need a year.
Ideally,
Yeah.
they
With
definitely
the
need 1 year.
CIP information, like what we had, or like
Just
just all of
budget.
it, all
They
budget
want-
in general.
Yeah, they want all of it. They want all of the revolving accounts and like all the account numbers for that, so that those numbers are relevant when they put all the data in to match up to our account numbers.
From what I can tell, if we do that, there's more modeling capacity that the system has. However, if we don't do that, you guys could build your regular budget like you do every year, and then we can run just the capital items in a separate modeling sheet, and then you would know you would have to take your proposed budget for this year, next year, and potentially the following year, and match it up with the capital expenses. So again, it's really just how you see yourselves as selectmen wanting to look at this data come November, December, and how much you wanna be able to play with the numbers. Is that fair, Joe?
yeah. So I was thinking, my first thought was all the revolving funds should be in ClearGov, but I changed, I don't want that now. Cause that's too much, but like the police vehicles we should be tracking that through the ClearGov tool, fire trucks through the ClearGov tool. Things like, Parks and Recs, incoming money, outgoing money, ClearGov's, all those revolving fund, that's not a good tool for that. That'll be a lot more work than.
Well, I think it would be good
Would
for
be
the
the
big
difference.
things, right? If we're gonna develop a new soccer field with lights,
Yep,
it
absolutely.
could be $30,000-$50,000 again. So I
Yep.
do think that would go,
Yep, true,
So
absolutely.
I thought of this as being separate from our accounting, so the fact that it's tied in is kind of neat. So for me, a part of this whole thing is to be able to project out tax rates, and like tax impacts, and let people know, hey, year 5, this is what we're looking at for expenses, this is how the savings stuff's gone, this is how much we're gonna have to make up, or we got new quotes and they came in a little bit lighter, like, so you can give people an idea what they're voting on year after year.
and I
So
don't
it sounds
know,
like that tool might help
I
do
don't know that it actually does the tax
No.
rates thing.
No, it doesn't do the tax, but it'll show you the total dollars maybe, like,
Change from year to
So-
year.
yeah, something.
Can I
So
just add
we're
on?
not gonna,
Sorry. I was just thinking, I just wanted to add on to that a little, because from what I took from that on our call the other day was like, if we don't put in all of that information, there are other aspects and tools and deeper things that ClearGov can do. And if we don't put all that stuff in now, it's gonna be much harder to implement something
Right.
later that
Yeah.
we may want to
Cause
implement.
so like right now we're paying for the CIP part of it, and then there are different components, just like all software, if you wanted to bring something else into it, you can, and you wouldn't have to go through all that mapping again.
Mhm.
I think
But-
somebody just rang the bell, and maybe the 6 o'clock person.
the problem with that though is, we could enter our budget data one time tomorrow, we could update it every month, but there's never gonna be linkage between BSNA and ClearGov. We're not gonna do that. And I know they want all of operating budget in hopes that they can convince us to migrate from BSNA to ClearGov. That's a huge
yeah,
step.
no, we're not doing
That's a
that.
huge step for us, and that I don't think that'd be a cost-effective decision today to make. My suggestion is we purchased the capital tool. We provide what we think may be of interest to ourselves in that capital tool, some of the revolving funds, the police cars, the building, that very expensive building maintenance items, things like that, and we can build that with ClearGov. If we ever want to expand on top of that, then we can, that's a different discussion, but I'm reluctant to provide all of our operating budget just because I don't want to maintain it next month. I don't want to provide inputs next month and the month after that, because it's going to change all the time. So let's just focus.
So that's a whole other accounting software, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
which we bought a very, very
Yeah.
small module.
Yeah, and we don't have any desire to, we kind of said that, unfortunately, BSNA doesn't have capital, and this doesn't, we don't wanna rearrange what we've already done. So if it sounds like we're leaning towards just the CIP stuff and we can go through the accounts and set some amounts,
Yeah.
okay. Is that, I'm sorry, we're acting like we're the select board over here.
No, you guys are taking in what you're chatting about, yeah. Cause we're all four of you on that call, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Alright.
Bruce Rutzler.
So I've got our team, I don't, you guys probably is, Bruce Rutzela is now on finance advisory and planning board. He'll be the link, and I see him being the real numbers guy.
Love
He's an
that.
accountant, so he's gonna be eating this up for lunch, I think. Joe as a handoff with historical data and getting the spreadsheet, the super duper spreadsheet. We are gonna have to go back and put some historical information in. So Joe and Bruce will really be the linchpin for that. Nicole is gonna work with the project sheets eventually and help she and I will work on helping out the team of department heads and committee chairs. And then Debbie would be our finance and historical spending data person as well. So she has to send files over to them, so that's why that team is kind of put together. If you guys want to adjust it, let us know, but the other thing that was really important for me was CIP has historically, even when it's been casual, has been a challenge to get data. And I understand that because a lot of people don't think about planning and numbers the way, we don't even like to do budgets, right? Never mind asking people to plan 5 and 10 years out. It's a pill for them to think that far. And so it's easy to fall to the bottom of the to-do list. So what we're thinking, and I'd like your support on, is this gets presented every month at a department head meeting for accountability, and that we will meet and set a monthly date to meet with the committee chairs. And we really just say, this is how we have to do this going forward on behalf of the town. None of us likes planning, but if you need help, the planning board is here to help you learn how to lay out a project plan, how to seek the data, how to maybe go to Peter Somro and get numbers if you don't know how much something costs, et cetera, et cetera.
Are you saying the capital improvement plan committee would commit to monthly meetings in perpetuity, or
No, till during the budget season.
during the budget season?
Yeah, I mean, if
So
people
not
want
only
us
with
to work with them
FAC,
outside, like we've tried to meet with the cemetery trustees. We know the cemetery needs some capital things over the next 10 years. We've tried to meet with them, and it's kind of like, yeah, we don't really know what we want to do. And then we call them and they say, it's not a good day. And so, we're available.
I'm trying to get a cemetery trustees meeting, and I'm on the board. And
So
I can't get it together.
I think it'll help. Are we willing to meet with people in perpetuity if they have plans they want to go through and they
Oh, I
know,
just didn't
you know?
understand.
Oh, no,
That
no,
was
no.
only during the budgeting.
Yeah, we're looking at June to October, November, and I laid out kind of an overview of what I would see us doing. So that we would do this, and I hadn't talked with Joe until tonight. If we need to tie this into budgeting, we can. But I think initially I'd like to get them introduced to the capital improvement system. We have new department heads. If we get everybody thinking in this terms of planning and how to plan and make
Yeah.
it routine, I think it will strengthen the town as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have new department heads and chiefs that are really in great shape after 2 or 3 years doing this. It will be routine.
I tend to agree.
So the decisions that we're looking for, and we don't, again, have to do all of them tonight, is which accounts or types of projects, which I think we're gonna have to bring back an account list and maybe go through with, maybe that's the way to handle that.
Yeah, like what we're gonna migrate over,
Yeah.
yeah, or not
Um,
migrate, but just share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, that will solve the issue of which items, and then does this plan sound good for department heads and committee chairs going forward? Debbie, I think some of this falls to you about cracking a whip on occasion, but,
I don't like to crack whips.
that's why I'm asking if everybody, because I think it's gonna be a top-down lead, right? If we're gonna spend the money to do this,
Yeah.
how do we get it in place?
Right, so
This is,
Is that
are,
what you were, I'm sorry, go ahead.
are one of you guys gonna go to a staff meeting like once a month and,
the goal is we will.
okay,
We will be there, and for you to back us up and say,
yeah,
who,
yeah,
who needs help with this, and
Right.
what's the holdup?
okay. So we need to have one staff meeting just to discuss it. And
We thought we
this
would
is what we're
introduce
doing.
it, and
Yeah.
then once a month, we would have a new topic.
Okay,
So it won't, in August, they would need to do their own training modules. There's online training that they can do at their leisure about how they're gonna put their data in eventually.
okay.
We
So-
will start them with paper worksheets, cause it'll be easier mentally for most
Okay.
people. Go ahead, Jason.
What is it gonna look like when you guys get it done? Is it gonna be on a spreadsheet type of a format, or
It's in a software program.
it's in a software program? How will we be able to see it here?
You will probably view it in the app, as opposed to the data will probably be put into a form, but help me
There
if
must
you
be
know.
something we can print
So the
out.
reality is we're probably gonna generate reports on
Yeah.
ourselves
Yeah.
and hand that off,
So
Yeah.
this is gonna be an active thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
And what about 5 years from now, is it gonna be needed?
It should be, and what we have the capacity to do is we will be able, if somebody says, hey, we're outside the town of New Ipswich and we wanna put up light poles, they could submit a project and the town could say, oh yeah, let's hand that off to the rec department, they can partner with the rec department, that's a great idea, it fits in the master plan. So the goal is that you would start to build more projects over time, and then you prioritize, again, based on your master plan.
Because it's software based, you'll be reminded every periodically to update it, make changes, see where you are. If there's nothing going on, you can delete it and get rid of it. Part of the problem we had now is, 10 years ago, the master plan was done in Word. And once you do a document in Word, you never look at it again. So, when I generated that spreadsheet, I pulled things off of an old file, 10 years old. Of the, say, 10 things that were in that plan, we did one of them. And that's it. So it was all sounded good 10 years ago. We never went that way. This tool's gonna allow us to say, when do we wanna do it? We wanna do it in 3 years. What are the steps it's gonna take us to get there? And then, every quarter, you could say, hey, how are we doing on the CIP plan? Have we made progress on it? And it could be another summary like the quarterly budget review.
And the goal is that each department head and committee chair is gonna have a username and password. So they're gonna actively be influenced by this system. At least that would be the goal, I would think.
mm,
And then to be fair, we're having challenges with getting the BSNA account system. So we'll probably have to help the department managers for a
Absolutely,
while.
oh,
to get them
absolutely.
through it, but,
That's what I'm saying, if we have to do it on paper and then we enter the data,
yeah, exactly.
we can do that.
I think we should plan for that.
I would
Probably a
agree,
year.
I would agree, yeah.
Alright. So is there anything specific you needed from us this evening? Cause we got some interviews starting right at 6 o'clock, so I hate to have a hard timeline on this, cause it's very important, but.
Well, no, I think where we are is that we should plan for a brief amount of time at your next meeting to go through the accounts and decide which accounts, what thresholds are gonna be relevant.
Or
Yeah.
maybe Debbie and I can take a shot at that. I'm pretty familiar with all the accounts, so maybe we can pull that together and then,
okay. Yeah, so we do first and third Wednesdays at 10. So
That's for the department head meeting.
department heads,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Dee was
That's what
talking
you were
about
talking
select
about,
board
right?
meetings. No, she was,
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
so-
what she was saying.
And I mean, if we just need to do that outside of this group and make recommendations back for the next meeting,
That's,
Yeah.
we
Are
can
you-
set up a
when
call to do that.
You're talking about selectmen's meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
then we will talk, staff meetings.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Sorry.
But I would use, again, parts of this document, edit it down a little bit, and take away some of the username and training stuff. Let's just plan to do it on paper this year.
So July 2nd is the next selectmen's meeting.
July 2nd?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, and what
June.
Joe was saying about, the parameters of going forward on this, very common sense.
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And that $5,000 number maybe should be looked at, but
Yeah.
Well, I think we can, if the three of us meet, we can make a recommendation on each account and a threshold amount. If that's okay with you guys, if you give us permission to give you something concrete back, we'll give you something concrete back.
yeah, and we might bounce it back
That's fine.
with more concrete added to it.
So the
Or take
only,
half the concrete away.
We can call
Might not
S and
bounce
S
anymore.
and
the only deficit,
Anchor
the only
and call
deficit
all.
is that we need to be able to start loading the accounts that we're going to use into the system, and we need to get some of this up and running in under a month. So I don't think we're gonna have 2 more meetings.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have 1 more meeting, so maybe we'll get stuff to you within a week, so you have a week to review it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you put us on the agenda whenever you put us on the agenda.
So do you want July 2nd or the 16th?
Oh, no, second. And then when can you and I and Joe get together to do the accounts?
So let me take a shot at that, this week, and then I'll send my first pass to Debbie, and then we'll talk it through and make sure that we're headed in the right direction. So.
When you meet with Debbie, meet with me, include me.
I'll do it, yep, absolutely.
And I think we need to remember what goes into, we probably need the fund name and what goes into it so that we can set some real, what it's for.
Yeah.
Excellent. Lou, do you have any quick questions or
No.
Jason? Oh, thank you, for getting this all going and teaming up together too. I think liking what I'm seeing and hearing, and how it's forming. So excellent.
Awesome.
And I
Thank you.
think they're planning to have data in by the middle of July.
Yeah.
Our first pass, we were supposed to
Yeah.
have data by July 16th, so it'll
Yeah.
be before the selectmen's meeting, so.
All right. Excellent.
Cool.
Alright.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Dee,
I
are you
have
home
that same
tomorrow?
sweater, Nicole.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Are you home tomorrow?
Yeah.
Stitch fit. Maybe it doesn't have the pockets like yours.
Which interviews are you doing in which order?
Assessing.
Assessing?
The first one is assessing, the second one is assessing, but also interested in planning, so.
Okay, alright.
So basically, I mean, if you wanna hang out for
You know, I can just go hang for the, when you do the second one, I'll be
Okay.
happy to, fly on the wall?
yeah.
Okay.
No,
Okay,
No,
did
do
you guys
your-
have that
do
discussion?
your thing.
Okay, alright.
yeah,
Alright, I'll see you in, whenever you're done with your next interview.
Okay.
I'll meet at the bathroom.
All right. Now, get ready to go into our interview phase of the meeting. Ron, thank you very much if you're taking off.